so that Lou can,
Great. Okay.
Okay, we're ready. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending. We are first going to approve the agenda. So the recommendation, well, first, are there any late items to introduce?
I wonder if I could add, a couple of people asked me about camping on Bowen. In terms of reference, I suppose that would fall into the category of protecting parks, specifically because municipal parks could be places where people camped. But there were some questions about it, particularly in regards to the fire hazard. And I just wondered if it would be meaningful to discuss that and about how to better control that. Apparently people have been seeing a lot of people coming over camping, and evidently there was an instance of people camping on the new conservancy land as well.
maybe Bonnie can catch that in her 6.3 update, just touch on it, or could go in new business.
Maybe we could have a group discussion about it. Perhaps.
So we could add it to new business then. How about that? Okay. All
I
right.
think it's an issue that's worth talking about. Yeah, it comes up on the Crown Trail issues as well, that we're trying to figure out how to deal with it on the Crown Trails.
Hi, Nicola. Thank you for coming.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, so can we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation that the Parks, Trails and Greenways Advisory Committee approve the agenda and late items for the July 13th, 2021 meeting?
I'll move to approve.
Phil and Nicola second. Thank you. On to adoption of minutes. So the minutes of the June 8th meeting were supplied. And the recommendation is that the minutes of the Parks, Trails and Greenways Advisory Committee meeting held June 8th be adopted. Did anyone have any errors or omissions to bring up? No? Okay. Can someone move to accept those, adopt those minutes? No.
I would, but I wasn't here.
Sorry, Lou, what'd you say?
I said I'll move to
Okay,
approve.
move and second.
I'll second.
Phil second, all in favor? Yep, good, everyone. Okay, thanks. We have no public comments, I believe, this evening. Okay, so we'll jump to number 4. Review of the action items from the previous meetings. And, oh, I have to click on a link, just a sec. So we had planned or wanted to visit Seymour Bay and consider the feasibility of the boat rack installation in the area. Bonnie's going to be speaking to that. Was anyone able to go out and have a look?
I wish I had.
Yeah, okay. Number 2, Bonnie and Carla, to ask the communications department to share articles on social media. Bonnie, Carla, do you know if that happened?
We're going to be doing a July meeting, and I know that I know Sophie's our communications coordinator extraordinaire. So, but I know that we did share on social media as much as possible. So I think we are promoting, and we will be promoting the next article, Phil's article, as well. We'll see if we might be able to do maybe another blast, but I know that the communications is pretty filled up with lots of municipal goings on. So, but we will try to promote it a little bit more, perhaps this next go round, and see if that suffices. I think it was Gigi that maybe didn't see the first round of advertisement for the for the first article and the second article. So, yeah,
All right.
maybe
And
it's happening now.
number 3, Bonnie was going to send the articles to Steph to post on the PTGAC page. Did that happen, Bonnie?
I don't know if we've been sort of holidaying, so they will be posted there. Carla, do you know if the 2 first ones have been yet? Not yet, but they will be for sure. We will, maybe
Okay,
we'll
so let's-
have that as an action item.
Yeah, let's keep that action item on there then.
Sorry, if I can just jump in because
Sure.
they are actually posted on it.
Oh, they are perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Soph.
And so there's previous action items from the meeting before, that if anyone had photos, texts, and ideas regarding Quarry Park and Headwaters Bog signage to send to Carla. And Bonnie was going to share the edited articles with all of PTGAC. Didn't see it come across, but maybe I missed it. Is that something you did, Bonnie?
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one. I was a bit scattered last meeting, just from personal issues. So I don't remember what the context was like. I know that the articles, once they're published, are now going onto the website, like once they've been edited. So and DG, myself, Carla, we're editing the versions that do appear in the paper and on social media.
I
So
think the idea, the context was that it would just be good for the other members that aren't part of the editing team to be able to look at them before they go to the undercurrent or on social media, so that, you know, people come up to us as members that you know, we're kind of aware of what they what
Right.
the articles say and so on. It's not important. It was just like a
yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. That makes more sense. So once we have edited this article, once it's ready to go, I will send it around to the committee just to let you know that it will be published, sort of, so that you have the first eyes on it. I know that staff time is a little bit in short supply, so I would appreciate your edits, but I think that we have a good editing team as it
No,
is. So
yeah.
I'll just send them around and let you know that it's going to be in the paper so that you're in the know for
great,
sure.
because, you know,
Mhm.
for myself, like I mean to read the undercurrent every week, but I don't always. And so then, you know, the article might get published and I haven't even looked at it or, you know, seen it, read it. So that'd be helpful. Thank you. If yeah, we got it emailed to us. Okay, so I also have under action items a number of things under next agenda. Okay, one is about the boat rack installation at Seymour Bay, so we're going to be discussing that. The developmental potential trail linkages map, Carla's going to speak to that later in the agenda. The shoreline protection priorities discussion, I think Sue Ellen will be highlighting that. And then the Westside Playscape. So I think we're good. All those things are going to be covered in the agenda tonight. So we can move on from action items to the business arising from the minutes. And first on the list is 5.1 Seymour Bay boat rack installation. Our recommendation to us today is that the PTGAC recommend that council direct staff to install a boat rack at Seymour Bay to be funded from the 2022 parks budget. Bonnie, would you like to speak to that?
Sure, yeah, I would adjust the recommendation a little bit in that that we need to budget for it. We need to budget for the rack at Seymour Bay, approximately $1,000 towards a boat rack at Seymour Bay, or to be installed at Seymour Bay. So we need to budget for it because it's a minor capital expenditure.
Okay, so for Sophie's sake, we'd want to change the wording to, if we are in favor of making this recommendation, that it would be recommend that council direct staff to budget in their parks 2022 budget for the installation of a boat rack at Seymour Bay. And do we want to say the amount to the estimated amount of $1,000?
We could say that, because I'm gonna be doing a motion sheet along with this recommendation. So it's just that to be included in 2022 park budget. So that's sort of how we would say it. So a expenditure of $1,000 to be allotted for in the 2022 budget.
Budget.
Bonnie, did we not say that I think that it's probably not flat enough ground there. Do we not think that we have to put, use some machines?
Well, that part we can do in-house. So
Okay.
when it's a minor capital expenditure of $1,000, the rack, and then the other part, when I do the motion sheet, I'll say that there'll be about a $500 with machine and staff time as well associated with the installation.
Okay, so
But we recommend the expenditure and the installation at Seymour Bay.
So Bonnie, should the recommendation be that the PTGAC recommend that council direct staff to allot $1,000 of the 2022 parks budget to the installation of a boat rack at Seymour Bay?
No,
No, okay. So
that $1,000 be allotted for in the 2022 budget for a boat rack to be installed at Seymour Bay, something to that effect. So it's not from the parks budget, it's just budgeted for in the 2022 budget.
Can I read you what I've captured so far?
Thanks, Soph.
Okay, so it's that the Parks, Trails, and Greenways Advisory Committee recommend that council direct staff to budget for the installation of a boat rack at Seymour Bay at an estimated expenditure of $1,000 from the 2022 budget.
great. Is there any discussion on this item? Anyone have any comments or questions? Sue Ellen?
I do, and just because I wasn't at the last meeting, I assume this is for kayaks and self-propelled watercraft. Okay, and where are you going to put it? At Seymour?
There's a good area at the top of the stairs.
Thank you.
There's
That's
a
all
couple
I
of
need to
different
know.
spots. Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit away from the shoreline, because we
Yeah.
don't like to put things near the shoreline, but it's just make it a little bit easier for those folks to.
Thank you.
launch.
I looked at the minutes, but I just
Self-propelled
had a couple of
watercraft.
questions. Okay, thank you. Do you need to say kayaks and personal watercraft, or do you want to just leave it at, well, we'll see what Bonnie puts in. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to say for a self-propelled watercraft boat rack,
Right.
so that people aren't thinking it's for, rowboats and such. Well, I guess rowboat is self-propelled. Motorboats then, it's not motorboats.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
happy.
thank you. If there are no further questions, then we can have a vote. No questions? Okay. Would someone like to move the recommendation, please? Nicola moving and second it. Phil seconding it. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving on to 5.2 and potential trail linkages. And Carla is going to talk to us about that.
So if you looked at the agenda, well, last time we were here, I had tried to put the two maps together. There was one from the report that the planning department had prepared for council regarding development potential on the island. And they had put color coded kind of all of the properties that were potentially subdividable in the future. And then I also took the map from the parks plan, which had all of our desired trail linkages and just kind of made one of them a little bit more see-through and put them over top of each other so we could see where those overlapped. So I was thinking that today that we could maybe do a group activity annotation. I mean, it's honestly, I don't think it's super, super important to do because the planning department is usually pretty good whenever they do get a subdivision that they will ask us, hey, is there a trail linkage that you guys wanted that was identified in the park plan when we originally did that activity of figuring out where we wanted those linkages. But if we wanted to look at that and see where we think we have some potential, then we can share my screen and everyone can go ahead and draw on the screen. If you just, well, let me share my screen first, maybe. But all you should have to do is go to the top of your screen and select view options and then annotate.
Ah.
Although so can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
So it didn't come out. It looks a little bit distorted on here. Has anyone gotten to the view options and annotate? So I've got mine and I can draw on here.
I have found the annotate.
I made a squiggle.
Oh, me too.
Oh, there you go.
This is fun.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna have to make my screen a little smaller because it seems like the drawings aren't remaining with the map. Oh, no. So that's not super helpful.
No.
Okay.
You can also get rid of that right side with the export PDF, edit PDF. Like, yeah, I don't know if that helps.
How's that?
Well, it's a bit small. Depends what screen you're using, but perhaps we could start by zooming in from at the north end and move down or somewhat so we could see it a little better.
Well, we can't because the drawings stayed on the screen rather than with. Yeah.
Right.
So,
although we could look at an area, the squiggles will just be to discuss, and then they can be discarded, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe we could screenshot it. If there are any squiggles, maybe screenshot on one side.
I think we can save it. Okay, so we could do one side and then the other. Personally, when I looked at this map, I didn't see a ton of areas that it looked like we were going to get some really great trails, but I think all the ones in Grafton Lake development were already kind of getting what we want there. So that's great.
I don't know what other folks think, but I think I might rather look at this on my own and then send any thoughts, or how are you feeling, everyone else? Like, this will be hard to comment on, I think.
I think so. I would agree with that. I think some of these are already there as well. Like these ones in Arbutus Ridge already exist. The ones from this part of the development over here, I think some of these already exist as well. So there are established trails there now. I think the challenge is whether they're going to be continue to be accessible.
There are also in the southeastern part, trail from Queen Charlotte Heights to Seymour Bay, which currently exists, does cross private lands in several critical areas.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, that would be of importance. That trail's fairly well used.
Are you talking about this one that goes between the down here up to past Apodaca? Or
yeah, it goes actually from the water tower and beyond that, actually from Davies Creek to the water tower at Queen Charlotte, and then continues on, nips a corner of the Ecological Reserve, and yes, and west of Apodaca, south through those beige colored properties to the Cowan's Point development. I think being able to see this at a more appropriate scale gives a better sense of things.
It's also, and we've talked about this before, would definitely be better in person if, if we had a big map on the table to talk about. So, Carla, do you, as you say, you don't need input at this time?
No.
Right. So.
No, this was just it was a request from someone when we were talking about this, when Daniel came to the meeting, just to see where those two things overlapped. And we can talk about it at any time and save it for a future agenda. And it's just something that's kind of nice to have, I think, too.
It's very helpful. Thank you for doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
But
Carla, for doing that. Yeah.
Also, if anyone has any comments that they wanted to send, even things just to make sure that the planning department knows or whatever, feel free to send them my way.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself when we were on the other screen, but I would love the opportunity also to look at it, have some time to look at it. And then I'd also love to hear everybody else's feedback on that. So maybe we can revisit it after we've all had a chance to have a closer look at it, because it's great. I really appreciate that you've done that too. So thank you for that. And I would look forward to having a closer look at it. So.
And there is a link in the agenda. So we do, that takes us right to the map or the document, does it, Carla? It's a link in the,
this is
potential conceptual trail linkage overlay map. So
yeah, I think it's on page 9 of the agenda. I'm not
okay.
sure if linked to this. Well, no.
Okay. So we all have access to it.
Can I give a little bit of background too, just for those new to the committee? So during the park planning process, we did a lot of work. We had maps and we went to farmers markets. We had small focus groups. We had council involvement. We had this committee's involvement. We had the community's involvement, and we did these linkages. And so hence the linkage map in the parks plan. And it would be really good to look at, like, maybe we need more updates, but I was really happy to see sort of where the pockets of development are. We do have a lot of linkages already there that were identified in 2018 in the Parks Plan. So that was really good. But I think, refreshing it, like really, this would be great to look and make sure that we're not missing anything. And we always have to really be careful with saying it's conceptual, because, when any trail crosses private land, it's any maps that get out there, even at our committee level, people watch our meetings. And so we have to be very careful that it's just purely conceptual. It's a desired linkage. And, with that overlay of where the development pockets are going to be on Bowen very soon. Well, there already are, but there's some areas that are going to have very high density in the coming years. So, yeah.
Okay, any last comments on that item, or shall we move along?
Let's hope that we can meet in person again soon.
Yeah, and just to echo the thank you, Carla, that's very helpful.
No worries.
Okay, great. So 5.3, shoreline protection priorities, and Councillor Fast is going to speak to this. Oh,
Thank you.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, sorry. This is my third meeting today, so big meet, hours and hours. Okay, so I just wanted to run through the options for shoreline protection and get some input from the committee about what do you think would be the best way to go. I'm looking at the Island Plan 2021, and we just adopted this in May 10th, which seems like only yesterday because I've had to miss a couple of meetings. And this, once this became adopted, it had been like closed before that, so I couldn't really talk about it. It was something that council was negotiating, and then we brought it to a public meeting, and we all agreed, and here it is. So in here, I just wanted to bring out, it's page 13 for anybody who might be following. Here are some of various shoreline protection options that I want to introduce. So this one is priority B1, and it's called strengthen our infrastructure and ecosystems through municipal actions. And one of these is to begin work on an ecosystem protection policy. And I'm down. So ecosystem protection, identify possible tools for ecosystem protection, develop ecosystem protection policy, and I'm one of the people on that. They call them, I think we're calling them key contacts. So that's one, ecosystems. B2 is through intergovernmental relations and working with others, protecting our infrastructure and ecosystems. So this one refers to the Islands Trust, which has a draft policy statement update. For those of you who are familiar with Bowen's official community plan, this is like the Islands Trust official community plan that's an umbrella over all of the island official community plans, of which there are like 20. And so it hasn't been updated for 25 years, and it's now in a draft form, and it will be, and we just voted on it last week as Trust Council, and it includes things, lots of things like protecting connected ecosystems, and it includes controversial things like no more new docks, no more shore hardening, only taking a green shores approach, and no desalination plants. Those are kind of the ones that are attracting a lot of attention at the moment. Because they're regulatory kind of land use guidelines in terms of climate change and climate, protecting the island from climate in terms of not the mitigation part, but the adapting to. In terms of First Nations reconciliation, First Nations input, because we've been collecting it at the Islands Trust side. And in terms of, affordable housing, you don't need to know, but a bunch of other good things about ecosystem protection. in the Islands Trust. So that's another way. However, that's pretty controversial. I was hoping to bring it to this meeting as first reading, but it did not pass first reading. It'll come to Trust Council again in December. Meanwhile, this committee, members of this committee might be want to give input to it, and I'll keep you informed as to how the public engagement for that develops. But this also talks about the Ocean Watch Action Committee of the Howe Sound Community Forum. Bonnie and I are both on that committee. And Howe Sound Community Forum, we learned that in September, the announcement that Howe Sound Al Kitsum will be formally awarded designation as a UN biosphere region as expected. So that's another way for conservation and stewardship and sustainability into the future to be working with others. So that's another possibility for shoreline protection priorities. And just so you are aware, there's a great map, the, what's it called? The marine, I'll think of it in a minute. Now you can go on to that, the map, Marine Reference Guide for Howe Sound. And there's a new section where it's got one of these great big interactive maps where somebody has flown a drone all the way along the shoreline. So you can see sections of video for the different, anyway, tons of good information is now available to us and others. So other partners to work with there. I'm still in the Islands Plan 2021 that Council has adopted. There's also B4, which is about protecting our unique island identity. Nothing in there about shoreline protection, but I would argue that for Bowen Island, our shoreline is part of our unique island identity. It's a bit of a stretch though. C2, dock regulation. So this is on page 20. And this is our commitment to support collaborative community projects. And sorry, C3, continue work on dock regulation. So after Ecclestone has happened now, maybe this is a good time to think about continue work on drafting a bylaw that specifies where docks are not permitted. This might be the strongest one that we have to work with, but it's not strictly shoreline protection. You know, it's just about docks. So identify criteria, map areas that meet those criteria, draft a bylaw to complete phase 2 of dock regulation, engage the community. I suggest this probably have to be the other way around, because I think the community is really engaged right now around Ecclestone and around the draft Islands Trust policy statement that currently says no more new docks. And so this is some ideas here. And then there's C6, which says work on the plans that are already in place. One of those is the Parks Plan. And in the Parks Plan, it says develop shoreline protection guidelines. So that takes me into Bonnie's realm, of course, as the author of the Parks Plan and the keeper of the Parks Plan, but it also takes me to the OCP, which has lots of good protecting the shoreline objectives and policies. And it also has a development permit area. So this is something that's already in the official community plan. This, by the way, is Schedule B1, environmentally sensitive development permit areas. And it includes the pink that you can see on here. That is Coastal Bluff, what we used to call Coastal Bluff. Now I think it's got another name. I forget what it is. And it also shows the forest and all these other things that are supposed to be taken into account in planning and permissions and changes in land use. However, we have no guidelines to go along with them to make the decisions. So that's the missing part.
So Sue Ellen, when this committee brought to council the desire to have staff look at ways to protect the shoreline. At that time, council said, well, we're in the middle of working on this island plan 2021. So was the discussion through this, the development of this island plan, that they did not want to specifically make any recommendations to have shoreline protection bylaws?
What I'm looking at specifically here is on page 25, and what is in the plan, in the approved plan, under highlights from approved plans, parks plan, number 3, develop shoreline protection guidelines. So that's our invitation, I think. It's in the approved island plan, and page 25. This means going through the parks plan, which is appropriate because it's the newest of all of these, well, one of the newer things compared to the OCP. And so I think we have, that also puts it into staff's realm because it's over there under approved plan. So the thing about guidelines is it's a very vague word. It doesn't say that it has to be a development permit area, right? But we could ask for that as well. I don't know. So this is probably our strongest one, and I'm wondering what people think. I just wanted to give you the kind of ballpark of all the things I see that are out there that we could possibly work with. Maybe that's too long. Sorry. My thought is at the time there was a problem with the wording when we put the recommendation forward, and we probably should have worded it that that we recommend that council asks staff to investigate creating a shoreline DPA. So and I know that, you know, the planning department had already somewhat looked into that, and for years have been, you know, kind of thinking about that. So do we know where they are with that? Is that something that, you know, now that the islands plan has been published, that we can recommend that council asks staff to investigate the pros and cons of implementing a shoreline DPA? Bonnie, do you know anything about that, or would Sue Ellen, do you know? What I would need to do is, hearing this from the committee, if this is the direction the committee wants to go with all the sort of current happenings in between, I would need to look into the parks plan more clearly and see what's in there, and talk with Bonnie and see it. I mean, the word guidelines is a general kind of word, and but I think that's the one that council understood, is like, how do we make decisions about these things? So I wondered if
Do you have anything to add to that? And then Rob?
We have, as far as I know, planning staff, we have not started, or environment staff have not started work on any guidelines yet.
Okay, Rob?
I'm not sure if I'm hearing correctly, but what I think I'm hearing, part of what you're saying, Sue Ellen, is in order to start talking about what would be in guidelines or what they would look like, a more detailed review of what's in the parks plan has to be undertaken so that we have clear linkage to what's in that parks plan to the guidelines. Is that part of the discussion?
Yeah, I think it would be good. And maybe what I'll put out there is, if the members of the committee would all look into the parks plan and see what the possibilities are in there for developing shoreline protection guidelines. I mean, I don't have it all memorized, and I don't look in it that often. And I didn't take a deep dive tonight because I had all these various ones that I wanted to put the context, the big picture, in front of the group. Maybe that was a mistake. And what do you think about everybody looking into the parks plan? Or Bonnie and I can just talk about it and bring something to the next meeting. or Chair, you could do that. Whatever.
Yeah, no,
Might
I'd
be
be
better to
happy
come
to look
from the
into it more. I just, I feel like, you know, it's now a 2 or 3 year old document, and we keep trying to get something happening, and it's, I'm not, I feel like there's not the political will.
Well,
So,
think about it this way. I finally got it into the island plan. It's in there. It takes time.
But again, guidelines is like, oh, landowners should try and do this and try and do that, and that doesn't really get us anywhere. So, yeah, I don't want to.
How about this? I'll talk to Bonny, and I'll look into the parks plan, and have a meeting with Bonny, and we'll bring back some ideas to the next committee meeting, with something with more teeth than the kinds of guidelines you've been talking about. Something that's more useful, right?
Right. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. So you can put me down as an action item there.
Okay, Sophie, thank you.
That sound good, everybody?
Anyone else have any comments? Okay, so then we can go to updates. Item 6.1 in the agenda is about the Westside Playscape. And Lou, I think you were going to talk to that.
Yes, thank you so much, Claudia. I am pleased to inform the committee, for those who don't know, that the Bowen Island Playscapes group has entered into a collaborative project services agreement with the Environment and Parks and Planning. And that was approved at the council meeting on May 25th. So I wasn't here for our June meeting to update you on that. And we've made quite a bit of progress as the Bowen Island Playscapes group. We've also entered into a partnership with the Bowen Island Montessori School, who has agreed to receive any donations and issue receipts to all the individuals and organizations that will be making donations. The next step of the process is to start fundraising. So through the Bowen Island Montessori School, we will launch a Canada Help fundraising page any day now. We're a little delayed. We're hoping we would have done it already, but sometime in the next week, you'll see an announcement on that. And the mail out will go out in the mail as well to Bowen Island residents, just giving some more information about what progress we've made already. So including our partnership with the municipality and with the Montessori school. And we've also had some businesses donate their time and equipment to help with site installation and prep once we do have the funding. The Bowen Island Gardeners Club has also helped, has also volunteered to join and help with landscaping the site once we were ready to go. We've applied for a large national grant with through the Healthy Communities Initiative, and that would be amazing, but we won't know until September 18th if we do get this grant. But there's been a lot in motion, but right now we're basically focusing on getting our fundraising set up. We've got the partners around the island, residents and organizations supporting us, and we should be officially launching our fundraising campaign any day now. And I think I mentioned this in the last meeting, we need about $90,000 to put in just the 3 pieces of equipment. And so we hope to be able to raise enough funds to get this going. But we're really pleased at the show of support from the community for this project, and more to come. So you'll be hearing more from me at the meetings. I'll keep updating the group on how things are going. But so far, everything is lined up, and hoping we can get some support from community members and from the grant.
Super. That's good news. Well done.
Thank
Nicola,
you.
oh, did you put your hand up, Nicola? No. Anyone have any questions for Lou or comments? Okay, thank you, Lou.
No problem. I think I'm going to have to sign off. It's getting late on this side, but I'll see you guys next month.
Okay, well, have a great time out there.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we still have 5 committee members, I believe. So are we still good, Sophie, for quorum?
Yes. Is Sue Ellen a voting member? Is that? Sorry.
I can't remember. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Bonnie.
Bonnie knows.
Okay.
Yes.
So we actually have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 of us. So, okay. All right, great. 6.2 is Phil and the Bowen Island Trail Society update.
Thanks, Claudia. Well, we've made some good progress on getting the signage up at last. It's taken a while, but the signs are going up on Mount Gardner, and that's a good thing. We've made some progress on getting hand loggers half permitting underway for September 4th weekend of Labor Day. So it looks like we're going to be able to run an event on that weekend. And so plans are beginning to come together for that. Over the summer, we've planned 2 row gaining events. Row gaining is basically a type of orienteering, and it's kind of a sport, but also like a fun, family fun type event. The first one we ran for just a small group of trail runners in a clinic, and it worked out well. So we're going to expand it and run another one on August 7th. And we've had a potential inquiry from the Canadian Mountain Running Association about whether we could host the national championships in conjunction with Hand Loggers Half as a joint event. So looking into all those possibilities at this stage for that to be run with hand loggers at the moment. It would require a slightly different course to the half marathon, but I think we've got a lot to offer on Bowen with the Mount Gardner trails. So we're looking into that as a potential add-on to this year's activities.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions for Phil? Okay, good. Thank you, Phil. 6.3, Bonnie with a staff update.
My internet connection is really bad. That's why I keep turning my camera off. I'm so sorry about that. Don't have a lot. We do have a Green Shores brochure that was created with the help of Stewardship Center, which was fantastic. And we also have an invasive plant brochure that Metro Vancouver helped us with, Bowenized with gorse in it. So those are 2 sort of tools for ecosystem protection. Plus we had earlier this year, the DP brochure for the watershed aquifer and stream protection areas. So those have been 3 pieces of educational tools. Yeah. So that it sort of fits with the Island Plan initiative to protect ecosystems. So that's really great. Carla and I have been working on the community energy and emissions plan update. We're almost there. It's quite a hefty document. It's a supplement. It's sort of a guiding document to augment the climate action strategy. So that's be nice to have that finished. We're hoping by the fall. We're also working with ECAC Environment Committee with looking at regulation for pesticide. So there'll be more revealed about that, but that's exciting, especially as we move forward with hopefully our compost facility. We haven't heard anything about the grant yet. So we're awaiting news from the province about on-island composting. Hopefully we'll be successful with that. Yeah, and I think Carla's maybe Carla has some other little tidbits.
Sorry, can I interrupt Carla because Nicola had her hand up early on.
Yeah, no I just wondered, sorry, that brochure that Sue Ellen held up, where would we get a copy of that? Do we have to go to the Muni Hall to get it, or?
Well, we have
Where are
I
they?
do. I have some at the Muni Hall, and also it's online. Sophie can answer that for you, though. She was really involved with that.
I'll broaden
Yes.
that to ask those 3 brochures you mentioned and the education component. How is that getting out to the public? Like, is it on social media plugs or undercurrent or anything like that?
So,
And also the community plan, the 2021, like, is that something you would put in everybody's mailbox, for example?
The island plan?
so the
Yeah.
island plan,
I meant the island plan, yeah.
yeah, the island plan, no, we don't mail it out. We have advertised it in the undercurrent as well as in our digital platforms, like e-newsletter, social media, etc., stuff like that. It's also on the website. So I would encourage anyone in this committee, if you're not already signed up to our weekly e-newsletter, to do so, because that's one of the places where everything gets out. We don't always have space to put every single thing in the undercurrent because we just have 1 page a week and sometimes a little bit more depending on how many notices we have. But yeah, it is available on the website as well as the development permit brochure. It's on there, and there are quite a few at Municipal Hall. So do feel free to pick one up from there. The Green Shores brochure, I'm not sure if we have any of those printed, Carla. We just kind of put that out this week. So it is on the website, and we're doing a little plug for it in this week's e-newsletter as well as social media.
Okay, thanks.
So the thing that I was going to add was just that the invasive species brochure, we are getting about 200 of those printed, but mostly it'll be on the website. In it though, I have referenced a invasive species webpage, and I kind of did it on purpose to push myself to make an invasive species webpage. It's been on the list for so long. So I was just going to throw it out there. If anyone wants to help with that, you are welcome to do so. I've got a draft so far. Sophie's going to probably put it together for us. We're going to just go with something really straightforward. And I know Moira Greven wanted to help a little bit as well, because she's, the
warrior
on, yeah, exactly. But yeah, if anyone wanted to have some input, I'm happy to take it. So anyways, we won't put the brochure out until we finish the website, but I think that would be a pretty quick thing to do. It's mostly just going to be a few really key priority invasive species with links to all of the, great best practices that have already been made up. We're not going to reinvent the wheel or anything. So yeah.
That's great, Carla. Thank you so much. I just wanted to let the committee know too that yellow flag iris. So we're going to be dealing with some patches that are showing up in Grafton Lake. We're going to be dealing with that this year soon. And also maybe some of you noticed some yellow flag iris that was planted in the beautiful plantings down by the library, the new plantings that were done a year and a half ago or so. There's some tansy or some, it's not tansy, sorry, it's not ragwort for sure. It's a yarrow, it's a golden yarrow. And then there was also some yellow flag iris. And I don't think they bloomed last year, so we were unaware. We left it to an on-island contractor to do the work, never assuming that yellow flag iris would be planted, but it was. And I mean, in that sort of environment, it's not detrimental, but the thing is that we don't want to promote is like someone coming and saying, oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful plant, and then taking it home to their wetland or area or something. So we are going to dig it up and remove it and replace it with something that is not invasive in the wrong ecosystem. So just so you know, yellow flag iris is a plant that we are going to be targeting, as we always target knotweed and hogweed and other plants as well. And then just further, just wanted to, some exciting news. Amber, she does the underwater, she's the underwater angel, or she's a diver. And so she's going to reestablish her cleanup of Mannion Bay. She did it for, I think 4 years in a row, and now she stopped for about 3 years, and we were helping her, and we would, you know, promote the events. We would be there helping, we would arrange the bins. And so she's going to pick that up this year again. She's enthusiastic. And with some of the stuff retrieved from the seafloor, she wants to do some sculpturing, maybe not on Bowen, but anyway, put some of that metal and stuff to use. And, you know, it can be a good educational piece, right, as well. So that's really great. Plus we have a partnership that's established for priority conservation areas. There's a number of staff and some members of the community and House Sound community as well. And we've been doing some work in Mannion Bay is the first priority conservation area. So anyway, so there's lots of marine initiatives going on, and yeah, I think that's about it for an update. I sort of covered the ECAC, so I know there was a separate one for committees, and I sort of covered both my staff update and the community or the committee update in this one update.
Okay, thank you. There's also regarding invasive species, Mark Edmonds, I guess, was involved in helping plant some flowers. I think it was done by seed up in Kate's Hill Neighborhood Park between the flat green grass field and Tiernanog. And it certainly is dense with wildflowers, but he asked if I could go and look if there were invasives, and yeah, there are a number of things that are problematic that are growing there, in particular thistle, which can become a problem in our natural habitats. So I just, I don't know, you know, apart from going and manually maybe cutting back some of those problem plants. I think I saw tansy too. It's almost all non-native, because even if you know, it's amazing how many of these even reputable seed companies like Western Seed, that they have wildflower packets, and they'll even, you know, you can call and say, are they native? Oh yeah, they're native to Pacific Northwest, and it's just not. It's just, and you can see on the package the names of the species within, and they're not native to here. So yeah, just thought I'd flag that. Bonnie, I don't know if there's anything, if that comes under your purview or not, but happy to go back up there with you or anyone else.
Carla's got her hand up.
Sorry, go ahead, Carla.
Oh, so the rehabilitation project that we did 2 years ago was all native plantings, and it was mostly shrubs and trees. We did it with a lot of people in the neighborhood at Kate's Hill, so didn't do any seed mixes at all. So if someone has put a seed mix there, they've done that of their own volition. However,
I see.
I will say though, that the tansy was there before. That was the main thing that we were trying to control, was the tansy and the thistle as well. And I think that it's actually so far done pretty well at doing that, but it'll take a little while to fill in.
Yeah.
Died, which we expected, but a lot has survived as well. So
good. Yeah. A little, and I did help with some of that planning a little bit, but I saw some you know, nice red flowering currant shrubs that probably you put in, and it would be great if volunteers or whatever could go in and trim around them, because the herbaceous weedy species are kind of overshading them, and yeah, so just to give them a further hand to get more established and larger, and yeah, okay.
that's a good recommendation. We went up there with IPS students last month, I want to say, maybe or two ago. And they did some work removing some of the invasive species. I noticed there was a lot of bushy kind of wildflower things out there that I couldn't tell what they were yet because they weren't flowering yet. And I was like, what are all these things?
There's
Lots
some
of
odd things.
daisies and stuff out there too.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to also say that that site, you know, like for operations, and this is like a good reminder. So before, back in the day, before Keats Hill was all, and maybe you remember this, Claudia, is the works, public works, they would do the ditching right along the road, and for operational purposes, instead of going all the way to Salal to the works yard out there, they would heap up the tailings, I call them the ditch tailings, sort of in that area, and there was a big mound of it. So there's a bit of gorse that will pop up once in a while in that area, and a bunch of, you know, being the source of, you know, the roadsides being a great source of invasive plants. So yeah, so anyway, you know, but that's part of the reason, like, to beautify that area, and Carla did a great job with ordering the plants and trying to sort of naturalize that area. But just
it's an ongoing,
ongoing there for a while established.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Sue Ellen.
I'll be quick. I just, Bonnie, how are you going to put black plastic over the yellow flag iris at the lake, and sink it with rocks, which is something I heard about today?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a really good protocol. Yeah, staking and the nice thick black. That's really seems to be the only way to cut it back and put the black, smother it. Yes.
Great. I was in an Islands Trust Conservancy meeting today. So wetlands all across the islands, if we have them in a nature reserve or sometimes in a conservation covenant, I guess we're starting to do some of that management as well. Staff are, and so there's another group to collaborate with if you ever want to share ideas. They're doing some experiments with some of the academics to see how long the black plastic has to stay down. So I'll just put that out there in case anybody's interested. Follow up if you'd like with me, and I'll put you in touch.
Thank you. Nicola?
So if we're out hiking and we see an invasive, should we pull it up?
It depends on where you are.
And what it is.
Well, that actually is part of my question. And does anybody on this committee know the trail from Valhalla to the golf course? Does that go through the ecological reserve?
Yeah, it does.
And we're not supposed to go, not supposed to hike in the ecological reserve.
It goes through a corner. Is that right, Jeremy?
That's right, yeah. The section of the very big trees and open forest, the big Douglas firs, that's the ecological reserve.
So is it okay to do that hike, or should we really not? And part of my question relates to that. There's a lot of little holly trees, and those are an invasive too, I believe.
They are.
Yeah. So there are a lot of those up there.
If they're true holly, or they could be our native. I'm sorry?
Oregon grape.
Oregon grape.
No, it's not Oregon grape. It's definitely holly. Yeah. There's a lot of them up in there. Anyway, this gets into about 3 other topics. So I'm just wondering though, generally, if we're out hiking and we see invasives, should we be pulling them out as we?
My opinion, this isn't a committee statement, but is that as long as you're not on private land or I wouldn't do it in the ecological reserve, even though without talking maybe to, I believe Alan Whitehead is still responsible for the reserve, so you could talk to him but if you're on Crown land or parkland, and maybe Bonnie can add to this, but by all means, if you can remove it safely, there's some species like hogweed you don't want to touch because You need proper gear to protect you from the sap and so on. But, you know, small Daphne, small holly, things like that. Absolutely. The more we can get hands on them to remove them, the better. But you also want to be careful of how you dispose of them. If there's small Daphne shoot and I'm on a trail, I'll just pull it out, because the smaller ones you can just get the whole thing, and that's fine to leave on the ground. You don't want to necessarily, you know, pull out broom and leave it, like, let's say you're in a coastal bluff area. If you pull out broom, that's great. But if you then leave it there, and it's, you know, over a cover of it's covering moss and lichen and those sorts of things, then it changes the whole microhabitat underneath all the debris. So you get into other problems. So, you know, you can, yeah. So, I mean, I think if you find out, like maybe that invasive species brochure will kind of tell you what the best way to remove it is, and then, you know, what you feel comfortable doing and knowing about, I think is
okay. Okay, and thanks for including that in the phone book, Claudia. That was helpful. Yeah,
yeah.
that was great.
You. Yeah, good.
Thanks. Okay.
I was just going to add too, if anyone sees any hogweed, knotweed, or gorse other than the Cowan Point area, I'd love to hear about it. We want to try to map as many invasive species as we can, and we don't have the resources to map them all because obviously they're kind of everywhere, but those are the 3 that are the priority species for us, and that we would love to hear reports about. And you can also just use the Report a Weed app that the province put out. There's an app for that. So that's one thing you can do.
Yeah, and also yellow flag iris. I think we'll add that one to that list of the 4 just because we definitely want to know where that is.
The next one to tap. Yeah.
Deal with it before it's like.
Okay, good. Thank you. So let us, Bonnie, 6.3, you feel you've covered, right? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Get to
Yes.
6.5, the committee update. Okay. But 6.4. So Sue Ellen.
Well, I covered a lot of ground in my earlier one, but yeah, I don't know. There's the ongoing projects are kind of in here. Okay. And one other one that I wanted to flag with you is that we just held a public hearing for bylaw 528, which is an update for our land use bylaw. And I can't take any more input on that because we held the public hearing last night, was it? And yesterday, yes. And but staff can. So in there, for example, there is a, well, anyway, have a look in there and, or call me and I'll go through. Actually, I can't talk about it. Talk to Bonnie. And, but it's just a funny way that once you've had a public hearing, elected folks aren't supposed to take any more input. It's just a way to get everybody to give their input at the same time, sort of thing. And, but otherwise, you know, I'm on, there's all kinds of things going on, and I can't read you all every 2 weeks, there's a meeting, and we just had one last night. And the next one's coming up is one more, July 26th, I think it is, or the last Monday in July. And then we don't meet again until September 27th as council, because we take a break in August, and then there's other meetings and things that happen in beginning of September, including another trust council. And then
I'm wondering whether maybe for the next agenda, but certainly the Islands Trust new policy statement has garnered a lot of community feedback. Mostly we've heard, we got letters in our mailboxes, I think everyone did, to write letters to reject the new policy statements that, that includes, no new docks and things like that. So as the Parks, Trails and Greenways Committee, I think we have a role to play in educating or communicating the benefits of remaining in Islands Trust and supporting their new perspective and mandate to more clearly protect the ecological integrity of the islands. So I think, I'll mention it to Ben, and perhaps we could have a discussion in the next meeting.
I think that's a great idea. And meanwhile, I'll send everybody on the committee some information about it so you can have the links and things. I don't know when the next meeting is, but I'll send out the info anyway.
Okay, Sophie, could you add Sue Ellen for an action item for that, please? Thank you. Bonnie.
I'm just going to turn my video off, but I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, and some of you might have heard that there is a public places bylaw coming forward at the 26th meeting, the last meeting before the council break, and it's coming forward for final adoption. So it has received 3 readings from council. It's a regulatory bylaw, and it's applicable to this committee because there's been a gap identified by me. I wear another hat in bylaws, and so what really has happened here on Bowen Island is we've got regulatory bylaws like for Manion Bay for the beaches water area there. We've got regulatory bylaws for property maintenance. We've got regulatory bylaws for noise, for dogs, for streets and traffic. We do not have bylaws that govern our public places. So that's our beaches, our parks, our trails. So what happens is, like, if somebody was to go in and pollute a wetland in Hunter Park, say, don't really have any tools to enforce right now. We could call the province perhaps if there was like frogs or something in there, and there's, but to rely on other, the province to come in and enforce. So what it does is it allows some tools. Another one is to not, you can't go and dig up trees in our parks, or so it's governing the use on public land. So there's certain activities that are prohibited in the bylaw and finable if need be, right? This is, it's a tool. It would have to be fairly egregious. Another one is for, picking flowers. Are we going to go out and enforce for making daisy chains? No, but if somebody was to go and cut all the flowers at the garden gateway, we now have a tool to at least educate or have a tool in our tool belt. So it was problematic too in our parks. We want people to utilize our parks, and so what was happening is people would phone us, like Kelly Kono, for example, wanting to use Veterans Park for some of her outside dance classes, especially during COVID. And we actually, we have to have some liability, like as a municipality. So, but we had no permitting process to utilize any of our parks, right? So we were using a streets and traffic permit. So actually there was no mechanism. So with this bylaw, it allows for permitted activities. So such as a dance class where, we would then have proper liability. It's protecting the municipality from that. And also, just making sure that with that nominal permit fee that, if there's garbage or damage to the surface of the grass or, something like that, then there's a little bit of pot of money to rehabilitate. So things like fireworks, for example, in parks, let's say, they are prohibited except with a permit. So would we allow, well, no, we're not going to probably allow fireworks in September, being that it's dry in our parks, you know, those sort of things. But it gives us the tool to allow people. It's not to dissuade activities, it's to ensure that activities that might take up space and dissuade or prohibit the general public from using a certain area, that those are permitted. So there's a process. You know, for polluting, there's for cutting down trees, for, you know, excavating, building unauthorized trails, those sort of things. So it's really to fill a gap that we, you know, we're growing up as a municipality and we didn't have those tools before. So that bylaw, as I say, council has given it 3 readings, and the final adoption is coming forward for council's consideration at the July 26th meeting. It also has some provisions for camping in there, so we can discuss the next item. I know the new item on the table. So I just wanted to fill you in with that. It's not prohibiting very many activities, just deleterious activities. Other activities that aren't deleterious but may have some impact on our public spaces, our parks, trails, beaches, etc., are permitted, but there's a permitting process.
So that will be in the next agenda, which will be published any day now.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that brings us to 6.6, which is the writing series, and DG is not here tonight. Is there anyone who was designated to speak in her place? Okay, then we'll move on. We've got our information items. Oh, before that, sorry, 7, new business. So that's the camping, as was brought up earlier. So Jeremy, would you like to open that discussion?
Yeah, it would just simply the fact it is the camping time of year. People do it. It's prohibited on the island, but people do it anyway. And I mean, there are various arguments that have been made about maybe it should be allowed so that it can be controlled in a particular area. The counter argument to that is that people will probably just go and camp where they want anyway. But you know, there's a lot of instinctively it makes sense given how expensive it is to stay at a B&B here on Bowen versus camping. Certainly when I was younger, responsibly younger, I used to go camping all the time, and was, you know, always very cautious and deliberate about it. But that's how you afforded to be able to go anywhere. You know, you couldn't. It's more egalitarian, put it that way, I guess is what I'm at. The idea of allowing camping, but it does have the forest fire risk, and people are understandably really nervous about that on the island. The responsible use of campsites if we allowed them, or a campsite if we allowed them, and so on. I'm just wondering what other people's feelings or input might have been in listening to others, because I've certainly heard a lot of people talking about it in fire season.
Nicola?
Well, you see people coming off the ferry with their camping gear. And so, yeah, I think everybody, especially this year, it's been so hot and dry that people are worried. So I don't know the answer to that too, because of course I'm also a camper and I'm pro camping, and I know people have camped here forever. So what do you do? But it is a big concern. And then I wondered, Bonny would know this, the whole bylaw thing and the woman camping behind the library. Is that to address her, I wonder? And this maybe not the place to talk about that, but I do wonder what's going on with her and that camping situation. And
yeah, I can't really speak to it. It's really directed by CAO and with council input, but the bylaw, the public places bylaw, does cover, of course, the library grounds, you know, all public areas. And there is provisions in the bylaw for camping and for erecting temporary shelters. So there is a section in there about that.
Yeah,
In the bylaw.
yeah, okay.
Sorry, you said there's provisions to allow temporary
Um,
shelters and camp?
Well, temporary shelters are allowed for between certain hours in the bylaw, but they have to be removed by a certain time in the morning. And that's all based on legal counsel advice and what has upheld in the courts. So we're not dissuading people are entitled and allowed to erect shelter. It's a human need. But it's just there's parameters around what that looks like.
Yeah, yeah, there are other people I know, we all know, camping on the island as permanent homes.
So Bonnie, how will camping be addressed by this new public places policy?
Yeah, camping is not allowed as per the bylaw, excepting with a permit on municipal land. That's what it's, and it's a finable offense.
And
I mean, that doesn't dissuade in the future. Oh, sorry, go on, Claudia.
So
it doesn't dissuade, you know.
Oh, we've lost her.
I think we might have lost her.
Oh, can you hear me now? Or?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, so I don't know what you heard there. Sorry, my internet connection is so weak. But yeah, so what it does, the bylaw does not allow camping except with permit on municipal land. So that's not Crown lands. That's not the Conservancy lands. It's just a municipally owned land. But it doesn't preclude the ability in the future for you know, a designated area or something. But this bylaw does cover beaches, trails, parks, and municipal lands such as the library, and it does not allow camping. And camping's defined in the bylaw.
Jeremy.
Does anybody know whether there are formal prohibitions on Crown land here for camping?
You're allowed to camp for a certain length of time on Crown lands. Yeah.
So the municipality would have no, that's not their purview. They wouldn't have any or what's the word?
Yeah.
Jurisdiction over.
Jurisdiction, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct, Jeremy.
I believe sorry.
No, sorry, I was just going to
Rob,
say,
Rob, go ahead.
my understanding, and it may be incorrect, is unless the government puts specific restrictions in place where the backcountry in areas is closed, and then camping would be prohibited.
That's how I understand it as well, Rob. Yeah.
Sue Ellen?
I was just going to say, as far as I know, and I would need to check, but I'm pretty sure our official community plan does not allow the land use of private campgrounds. Like you can't, if you had a big acreage, you couldn't create a campground. That's not a permitted use on Bowen Island, as far as I know, on private land. So that's different. And, you know, all the protected lands are different too.
So in theory, seeing someone come off the ferry with camping gear, if they were to go and camp on Crown land, that's perfectly allowable, and our municipality does not have any jurisdiction to tell them that they cannot do that. Is that your understanding, Bonnie?
That's my understanding, yes. Yeah, not in the ecological reserve, as I understand it, but in the Apodaca Provincial Park or their Crown land blocks, my understanding is it is allowed. Sorry, Rob.
Yeah, sorry, Bonnie. Just one thing occurred to me, and it's, you know, part of this discussion is around fires. I'm wondering if the tourism folks interact with some of these people, and perhaps if they're not already, there might be an opportunity to remind anyone with a backpack that there is a campfire ban throughout the province.
We often have had ferry personnel the captain would make a announcement in the dry summer months that there was, extreme fire danger and things like that. I don't know if I haven't heard that yet this year. Has anyone heard them announce that on the ferry? Might be something that,
I think when the fire danger gets too extreme, then our emergency program coordinator, Christy, I think is her name, our new one, or the fire chief would get in touch with BC Ferries, and they manage that through the emergency side of things.
okay.
But I also think
Sign at the general store saying extreme fire hazard. I don't know if it was. I mean, it looked official, but I don't know.
maybe it slipped by me. Yes.
Sophie.
I can speak to that a little bit. So you're right, the BC Ferries does do announcements during extreme fire danger. And I have an email into to Darren Gannett, just requesting if they're going to be doing that again this year. So he's going to get back to me. And then also just this morning, is it Tuesday? Yeah, just this morning, I've talked to the fire chief about getting big signs put up on that fire danger sign in the cove. So the one that indicates the current forest fire danger, we're going to get some more stuff on there just saying no campfires, no beach fires, just pretty straightforward.
Excellent.
And this is, I don't have a lot of detail on this. I think it's something I saw on social media. I haven't been directly in contact with Jody Lawrence, but she said that they are doing some education around forest fire awareness with people that visit the visitor center.
Great. Okay, I think there's not a lot else that this committee can do regarding camping. So shall we move on? Or are there any last comments on that subject? Okay, great. So then we are looking at our next meeting being held on Tuesday, September 14th at 7 p.m. So we're skipping an August meeting. Hopefully most of us can make it. I think that only leaves adjournment, but I need someone to move to adjourn. Does anyone do me that favor? Nicola, and a seconder? Phil, thank you very much. And all in favor? Thank you everyone for spending this lovely summer evening on a Zoom meeting. It's important.
Okay.
Okay.
Happy summer, everyone.
Yeah, bless you, Jeremy.
Bless you. Yes.
Good night.
See everybody. See you on the trails.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
nice August, everybody. Stay
Yeah.
safe.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Sophie.